To the Minister of Finance. What reports has he received on the government's financial position?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, earlier this month, Treasury published the government's financial statements for the 11 months ending 31 May. The government's operating balance was about $1.1 billion better than forecast at minus $5.9 billion. This is slightly encouraging, but the global environment remains uncertain and there will continue to be fluctuations in the tax take from month to month. The world situation, though, reinforces the need for government to keep a firm control on its costs.
David Bennett.
Supplementary question to the Minister. How does balancing the government's books help the economy?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I know it's broadly accepted in the National Party that it is good for the economy, but I'd like to explain the reasons why to the opposition, because they remain unconvinced. Balancing the books is one of the most important things the government can do to build the resilience of our economy and reduce its vulnerability to growing overseas indebtedness and take the pressure off interest rates and the exchange rate. For instance, the average business lending rate has now fallen to 6.04% at May 2012, compared with 9.4% in late 2008. Insofar as the government is on track to surplus, this helps make our businesses more competitive.
David Bennett.
Supplementary question to the Minister. How is the government's responsible management of its finances helping New Zealand's households?
Did the Minister hear the question?
Yes, I did.
The Honourable Bill English, because the Speaker did.
Speaker, again, for the benefit of those who want to borrow more and spend more, balancing the books helps take pressure off mortgage interest rates. The average residential floating rate is currently 5.9%, compared to a floating rate of almost 11% in late 2008. For a family with a $200,000 mortgage, that's a saving of around $200 per week, or more than $10,000 per year since they elected a national government.
The Honourable David Parker.
Does today's report from Statistics New Zealand show that the government's finances need to provide for more than 1 million people more than 65 years of age by the end of the 2020s? And what changes to superannuation is he intending to make to ensure that New Zealanders have fair and sustainable superannuation?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I think the member probably put it correctly when he said the economy needs to be able to support a growing number of older people, and we are focusing very strongly on reinforcing the competitiveness and productivity of this economy so that it can support an older population. As the member knows, the government's position on national super has been quite clear.
David Bennett.
Supplementary question to the Minister. What other approaches to managing the government's finances is he aware of?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I have heard a number of reports of propositions that would require a considerable amount of extra debt and unsustainable spending. For instance, borrowing to pay for reducing the retirement age to 60 for some workers, borrowing to pay for the Auckland Rail Loop, borrowing to pay for doubling paid parental leave, and of course borrowing $5 to $7 billion on global financial markets to buy back the 4 SOEs that the government plans to partially sell.
The Honourable David Parker.
Does his budget project that by the end of the 2016 year, his government, if still in office, would be spending more on superannuation than on all of education? That's more than preschool, primary, intermediate, secondary and tertiary education combined. And if so, how can he deny that changes are necessary and should be signalled now rather than sprung on people later?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, that may be the case with the budget projections. I'd need to check it. As far as I know, no one is proposing, or maybe they are proposing, maybe the opposition is proposing, to somehow reduce national super so that by 2016 we're spending less on it than on education. And if so, people need to be told about that so it's not sprung on them as a surprise.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Why is the Minister bragging about a floating rate of 5% when that equivalent rate in the EU, UK and Japan is 4 times less than that?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the government's not bragging about anything. It's simply pointing out that the floating rate of interest is around about half what it was in 2008, and that is giving New Zealanders the opportunity to pay off debt and save more money, and those are good things for the economy.
Question number 4, Jacinda Ardern.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Social Development. Does she stand by her statement that, quote, you need to look at the 16 and 17-year-olds, and for the very first time our focus is keenly going on them?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, yes, and that's why we are making significant changes to ensure that we are focused on getting more 16 and 17-year-olds into education.